The spread offense has taken over NCAA football and has been used as a catalyst to alter the way football is played at every level. And I set out to create the ultimate college spread offense inspired by some of the greatest, most explosive teams we have ever seen. And I set out with the goal to allow you to play just like these teams in Madden 23. But first you have to understand what these offenses are and where they came from. Now I believe there are three main factors that have brought college football offenses to the point they are at currently. And the first is the adoption of the air raid. On Saturdays, when you turn on your TV and flip to any college football game, you will see these spread looks with 3 to 4 receivers on the field and the QB dropping back and throwing it as many times as possible. And this is a direct result of the air raid offense. The scheme was a brainchild of Hal Mumme and the late great Mike Leach, and they developed it in the late 80s and early 90s. During this time, the vast majority of college football was playing smash mouth, heavy personnel, pro style football, and they wanted an offense that they could use to compete with these high level football teams without having access to the best players. And this all revolved around spreading you out and passing the ball all over the yard. And they moved from low level college football to Kentucky, then to Oklahoma and Texas Tech, and then within a few years it spread like wildfire, and now the air raid offense and its principles are the backbone for the passing games of the modern college spread offense. The next driving force of the modern college spread was, instead of spreading out your opponent to try to throw the ball, what if you spread him out to run it? And that is where the mad scientist Chip Kelly came into play. And he strolled into Eugene and took a somewhat irrelevant program in Oregon and transformed them into a powerhouse that was competing for national championships. His use of tempo and using formations and play calls to alter the math for defenses made it almost impossible to slow down his attack, and countless other teams have adopted this style to add a whole new dimension to their spread offense. Then the third element that has changed college is the full acceptance and adoption of mobile athletic QBs and utilizing their skill sets to take offense to the next level. Now, though college football had used running QBs in the past, like with triple option offenses, it wasn't until the mid 2000s with Vince Young winning the Natty, and then players like Cam Newton, Tim Tebow, and Lamar Jackson did offenses realize you could create a scheme with your QB at its center, and he could be such an unstoppable force. And when combined with the air raid pass game plus a spread to run, read option, RPO heavy run game, you could create the ultimate modern college offense. And this is what you see dominating the game every Saturday. Now, over the course of this series, I will break down 5 teams who base their offense around these principles. They are some of the most successful and legendary teams that we have seen over the last 10 to 15 years. Between these 5 teams, we have multiple national championships, 4 Heisman winners, and a ton of insane records that will be tough to break spread throughout college football. Now, I want to keep this a surprise, but let me know down below who you would like to see the 5 teams be. Now, for this scheme, each of the upcoming offenses will be run out of the spread playbook or pass balanced in much. So even though they will be individual schemes, they will all be in the same playbook and are meant to be used together. Now, each of these 5 offenses will be built around these 3 principles, and let's look deeper at the air raid first. Now, the goal of the air raid is to get your athletes the ball in space, allowing them to make plays. It is meant to be a simple offense for the QB and receivers with not a ton of concepts, but you can take those few concepts that you use and implement them in multiple formations. This allows the offense to give the defense multiple looks while keeping it simple for the offense. And air raid teams are designed to attack the width of the field, and we want to put immense pressure on the defense both horizontally and vertically. We want to make them cover every blade of grass. And for true air raid offenses, the whole scheme is built around passing the ball as much as possible, and they have been responsible for some of the greatest passing seasons in the history of the sport. And then formationally, the air raid uses a ton of spread looks with 3 to 4 receivers on the field and usually only 1 running back. Then for the spread to run elements of these offenses, they employ very similar formations as the air raid, but now the functions of these is completely different, with the goal being to force the defense to match their spread looks. But once they do, now the box is light, and this is a perfect time to hand the ball off and start racking up yards on the ground. Then the give and take of these looks is if the defense starts to creep down to the run and put more players in the box, then that is where they can attack the edge of the defense with bubble screens or other quick passes attacking the edge of the defense. And this is where a ton of the RPO game that is so popular in college ball is derived from. This gives you the ability to put defenders in conflict on whether they play the run or the pass, and we can make it so they can never be right. And this is another element that makes these spread to run offenses so tough to stop. Then for the addition of an athletic QB at the center of the offense, when a team gets their hands on one of these players, it can allow you to create a scheme that is next to impossible to stop. stop. This is the queen on the chessboard that can do anything, go anywhere, and gives your offense the ability to become anything you want. These players have become the legends of college football, and I want to make sure I give you the ability to make the QB the centerpiece of your offense. And I have an insane amount of different QB runs, options, and RPOs to make sure you put the most pressure possible on your opponent at every moment of the game. Now, a ton of this scheme is going to be found for free on YouTube, but if you want to take it to the next level, that is where you need to check out my website, Scheme Kings. As we go along with this offense, there will be a ton more videos going up on this site, and then live right now is the first part of this offense where I give you 8 plays out of the formation, gun, box, offset, weak, and it really utilizes all the elements of this spread offense and is going to be a great place to start. Then there is a ton more on the site, like my Chiefs West Coast spread offense and my Bama defense, and then so much more. Then I'm also running a Christmas sale on the site, so you can use code SPREAD at checkout for 50% off your first month, and this sale will run till January 7th. So if you want to check out Scheme Kings, I will leave a link for it down in the description below. Now, getting into the personnel we are going to use for our offenses. Now, each scheme we release will have slightly different elements, but if you nail down these 4 players, you are going to be in a great spot. Now, the first is the QB, and you can really go in 2 directions. You can go for the completely mobile QB, whose game is built around his legs, speed, and the ability to dictate how the defense has to play against him because of his unique skills. Think Lamar Jackson at Louisville, Cam Newton at Auburn, or Kyler Murray at Oklahoma. And when I'm using a QB in this vein, I'm using Michael Vick right now, who is the ultimate running weapon. Or you can go for more of a balanced QB who is athletic and can make plays with his legs, but is a little more built to play from the pocket. Think Joe Burrow at LSU, Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma, or Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech. And when I use this style of QB, I use Steve Young, who brings great ability to win from the pocket, but then can also get out on the perimeter and make plays. I want to make sure I use set feet lead or pass lead elite on my QB to make sure I can make any throw and put it exactly where I need it. The next star is your RB1, and in the majority of these offenses, this player will rely on speed to make plays in the open field, and we want an excellent receiver to ensure he can be a dangerous weapon in the pass game. Think Michael James at Oregon, Travis Etienne at Clemson, or Joe Mixon when he was at Oklahoma. And in this spot, I'm using Marshall Faulk, and he brings all of these elements to our offense and is a great option. Next, we have our slot or gadget receiver, and this position is built around speed and his ability to make people miss and be an absolutely deadly weapon with the ball in his hands. For this spot, think Jalen Waddle when he was at Bama, DeAnthony Thomas when he was at Oregon, or Percy Harvin during his time at Florida. And here I'm using Steve Smith, who brings a ton of that speed and explosiveness to the table. Then our fourth key player is to have a ball winner who can make plays on the outside. Here we want a bit bigger of a player who can make plays on the perimeter of the defense, but then we still want him to have speed to get down the field and be able to make big plays. And here think Jamar Chase at LSU, or Michael Crabtree at Texas Tech, or CeeDee Lamb when he was at Oklahoma. And at this spot, I'm using Calvin Johnson, who brings a ton of that speed and ball winning to the table. Then I do have route tech on him to make sure he is my go-to weapon to beat man coverage. Now, formationally and for our personnel groups, we will have 3 major looks, with the first being 11 personnel. This will give us 3 receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 running back on the field. And this will be the backbone of our offenses, with a ton of our explosive pass elements being out of these looks, then a ton of our spread to run offense being run out of these formations as well. One other key player for these looks is our tight end 1, and I go for more of a receiving option than a blocking player who can win one-on-ones and make plays down the field. Then our next group is 20 personnel. This gives us 2 running backs, 0 tight ends, and 3 wide receivers. This isn't quite as common, but we will use this pony personnel group to throw another wrinkle at our opponent, and some of our most creative RPOs and run options will be found in these offensive looks. And here we will be utilizing a second running back, and here I go for more of a power runner to give us a bit more of that downhill physical run element to our offenses. Then the last grouping we will use is 12 personnel, and this is 1 running back, 2 tight ends, and 2 receivers. This will give us much more power to our offense and will let us attack in different ways than more of our classic spread looks. We will utilize quite a few different formations here, whether it's wing sets or we also have some pistol looks as well. And here we are using a second tight end. So for my tight end 2, I go for more of a blocking player who can help spring us in the run game, but who is also a capable receiver who can make plays when called upon. Now here's a full look at my lineup that I use for this offense and a look at all my abilities. You can pause on these screens if you want to take a closer look. Then if you want to use this offense in rags, I would use the Dolphins with all their speed, the Chiefs with Mahomes, or the Bills with Josh Allen. Now this spread offense is going to be incredible incredibly tough to stop once you get your hands on it. But to hold you over till the next video in this scheme comes out, you can run my Chiefs West Coast spread offense that takes a lot of these college elements while combining them with the modern NFL pass game to give you an unstoppable offense. Now, if you want to take a look at that Chiefs offense, you need to check out this video right here.